Hey everybody, and thank you for watching another video. Welcome to our Vision of Valyria What If series, a series where we make one change somewhere in the timeline and see how that single change just ripples throughout the entire world of Westeros. And in this video, we explore what would have happened if a desperate Robb Stark, instead of sealing his fate with House Frey, took the biggest gamble in Westerosi history. But before we get started, if you can leave a like on this video to support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Now let's get into it. The young wolf, he'd won every single battle, but he was losing the war. Betrayed by Theon, his home in ashes, and his brothers presumed dead, Robb Stark is facing an impossible choice. Now in our timeline, he makes a fatal deal with the Freys, sealed by a promise he just can't keep. But what if, in that moment of desperation, he sends his mother, Catelyn Stark, not to some petty river lord, but east, to find the last Targaryen, a queen with 3 living dragons and a claim to the Iron Throne? You know, this one decision wouldn't just change the War of the Five Kings. It would forge an alliance of ice and fire and completely rewrite the destiny of Westeros. So the plan gets cooked up out of pure desperation in Robb's war tent. The war in the Riverlands is a bloody stalemate. For every win on the field, there's another strategic loss. The Ironborn have the west coast, and the Lannisters have the south locked down with their endless gold. Catelyn has just come back from her failed meeting with Renly, only to find out Stannis' shadow magic made the whole thing pointless anyway. And there are these whispers coming from the east, sailors' tales most people think, about a Targaryen girl with 3 dragons. But when you're a king with nothing left to lose, a sailor's tale starts to sound like a lifeline. And Catelyn is horrified. The Targaryens were the ones who murdered her father and brother. That's what started Robert's rebellion, the war that defined her entire world. So going to them for help, it feels like a betrayal of Ned's memory, of everything they fought for. But then, she looks at her son, at Robb, with the weight of this kingdom crushing him, and she sees the truth. Honor is a fine thing, but it's not gonna save their people. So Catelyn Stark, the very picture of honor, agrees to the most improbable diplomatic mission in history. Her journey across the narrow sea is perilous. She's not traveling as Lady Stark, but as a merchant's widow, completely anonymous. And her ship docks in Korth, this great desert city where Daenerys, at that exact moment, is in her own struggle to survive. After navigating the city's politics and Dany's suspicious court, Catelyn is finally granted an audience. And in this borrowed hall, Catelyn Stark comes face to face with the girl she was raised to hate. Daenerys is young, beautiful, and she's flanked by Ser Jorah Mormont, a man whose own past is tied to the north. And the air is just thick with years of bad blood. But Catelyn doesn't see the Mad King's daughter. She sees a quiet, steely resolve that looks a lot like her own son's. And then she sees them. Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion, no bigger than cats, are right there with their mother, and their presence makes all the impossible stories real. So Catelyn swallows down generations of hate and makes her offer. The North will back Daenerys' claim to the Iron Throne. The armies of the North and the Riverlands will be her vanguard. All they ask for in return is justice for Ned Stark's murder and for the North to be independent, forever. Daenerys listens, her violet eyes impossible to read. Ser Jorah, remembering Ned Stark's honor, he sees the strategic genius here. An alliance with the Starks gives her a real foothold in Westeros, something no army of foreigners could. But Daenerys was raised on stories of the usurper and his wolf bannermen. She knows an alliance built on revenge is fragile. She needs something more permanent. So thinking back to her ancestor, Aegon the Conqueror, she makes a counter-proposal. She accepts their terms but adds one of her own. To bind their houses in blood and heal the wounds of their rebellion, she will marry Robb Stark. The king in the north would bend the knee, but he would rise as her husband and king consort. The Raven from Korth finds Robb Stark at Riverrun, and he reads this scroll, and the terms are just staggering. Catelyn did more than he ever could have imagined. He asked for an ally, and she's bringing back a queen with a fleet, a Dothraki horde, an army of Unsullied, and 3 living dragons. But the price is something he never saw coming: marrying the daughter of the man his own father helped overthrow. This isn't just an alliance, it's a rewriting of history. And his lords are divided. The Great Jon Umber is roaring with approval. You know, only seeing the promise of Lannister blood and dragonfire. But others, like Rickard Karstark, whose sons died for this, they're wary. They didn't name Robb king to trade a lion for a dragon. Robb gets their fears, he feels them too. But he also understands the brutal math of this war. His campaign, as brilliant as it is doomed. The Lannisters have more men, more gold, more time. This isn't just a path to victory, it's the only path. He sends a raven back. He accepts. And the news of this betrothal just spreads like wildfire. In King's Landing, the small council is in chaos. Lord Tywin Lannister, a man who prides himself on seeing everything coming, did not see this. He saw the Targaryen girl as a ghost story. But allied with the undefeated young wolf, she's now the single greatest threat to Lannister power. The Stark armies he planned to grind down are about to be reinforced by dragons. He immediately starts consolidating power, trying to crush Stannis before Dany's fleet can even arrive. And on Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon gets the news with his cold fury. In his eyes, Robb is a traitor and Daenerys is the spawn of a mad dynasty. He is the one true king, and now he's caught between 2 massive armies about to converge. Melisandre sees visions in her flames, a wolf and a dragon fighting side by side in the snow. She warns him the true enemy isn't in King's Landing, but his ambition is a fire that can't be put out. He's not yielding. The War of the Five Kings is about to become a war of titans. So Daenerys Targaryen doesn't land at Dragonstone or in Dorne. Her fleet, this massive armada, sails right past the south and into the cold gray waters of the north, making her arrival at White Harbor. The North has never seen anything like this. As the ships with the 3-headed dragon sigil pull into the harbor, 3 shadows fall over the city. Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion, now grown to the size of large hounds, maybe even small ponies. They soar through the sky, and their roars echo across the Wolfswood. And the people of White Harbor just stare in this mixture of terror and awe. This isn't just a queen, this is a living legend. Robb Stark and his honor guard ride south to greet his betrothed, and they meet on the King's Road. The king in the north, in his furs and mail, comes face to face with the mother of dragons. And their first meeting, it's not about passion. It's all about the intense political gravity of the moment. They're 2 young monarchs who had to grow up way too fast. They look at each other and they see a reflection of their own struggles, a partner who actually understands the price of a crown. The wedding takes place in the Godswood of Winterfell. It starts under the weirwood tree for the old gods of the north, and it concludes with vows in High Valyrian for Daenerys' heritage. Their marriage begins as a political necessity, but in the quiet moments they start to find this tentative common ground. He was the ice, measured and honorable. She was the fire, passionate and unyielding. They weren't in love, not yet, but a deep and powerful respect starts to grow between them. They are partners in a war for the future of the world, and for right now, that's enough. This alliance of ice and fire fundamentally changes the war. Robb's brilliant tactical mind now has the ultimate weapon, dragons. And Daenerys has a commander who knows the land and the enemy in a way she never could. Their first move is to liberate the Riverlands, and the target is Harrenhal, the cursed fortress that's the Lannisters' main base in the region. That castle is famous for being impossible to take with a conventional army, but it wasn't built to withstand dragons. As the northern army surrounds the fortress, Daenerys, mounted on Drogon, leads the assault. And the Dragonfire, a force not seen in Westeros for over a century, just melts the black stone towers like they were candles. The garrison breaks in pure terror, and the fall of Harrenhal sends a shockwave across the continent. The message is clear. The old rules of war are dead. Tywin Lannister, a man who has never been outmaneuvered, is now completely on the defensive. He retreats to King's Landing and turns the capital into a fortress. He sends ravens to the citadel, offering a fortune for any weapon that can kill a dragon, which plants the seeds for what will eventually become Qyburn's scorpion ballistae. And while this war for the Iron Throne is raging in the south, a different war is brewing in the far north. Jon Snow, now Lord Commander, sends a raven to Robb. He talks about wildlings, ancient horrors, and the dead walking. Normally, this would be dismissed, but the warning reaches a queen who has walked out of fire and commands impossible creatures. Daenerys doesn't dismiss the letter. She believes him. She and Robb agree that the Iron Throne means nothing if the kingdom of the living falls. So a portion of their forces, along with a supply of dragon glass from Dragonstone, are sent north to reinforce the wall. For the first time ever, the Night's Watch has the full support of the crown, and the war is now being fought on two fronts: the war for the throne in the south and the war for the dawn in the north. The march on King's Landing is now an unstoppable tide. The combined armies of the north, the Riverlands, and the Targaryen host are a military machine Westeros has never seen, and the political dominoes start to fall. In the airy Littlefinger, ever the opportunist, convinces Lysa Arryn to join the winning side. The Knights of the Vale ride down and join the advance. In Dorne, House Martell, bitter over Ilya's murder, sees its moment for revenge and declares for Daenerys. Tywin Lannister is completely surrounded. The siege of King's Landing isn't the inferno it could have been. It's a methodical, strategic masterpiece put together by Robb Stark. Tywin refuses to surrender, putting his faith in the city walls and the Scorpion ballistae that Qyburn hastily built. And when the assault begins, the Scorpions find their mark. Viserion is struck, his wing torn by a massive iron bolt, and he spirals down, wounded, inside the city. And seeing one of her children hurt enrages Daenerys, but Robb's steady hand prevents her from just burning the entire city to the ground. Instead, they focus the assault. Drogon and Rhaegal target the Red Keep directly, while their soldiers breach the gates. The Lannister army collapses. Tywin Lannister is slain in the fighting. Joffrey is captured. And Cersei, watching her world burn from the Red Keep, chooses her own end, taking poison rather than being captured. Daenerys enters the throne room not as a conqueror who razed a city, but as a liberator. And by her side is her husband, Robb Stark, the king consort of the Seven Kingdoms, the wolf who helped bring the dragons back. The War of the Five Kings was over. The reign of Queen Daenerys and King Robb begins with trying to heal a shattered realm, and their first great act is to honor their pact. The North is granted its autonomy, with Robb ruling as its king, bound to the Iron Throne not by fealty, but by marriage. It's a revolutionary new setup, and with peace settling over the South, the true threat looms larger. Jon Snow travels to King's Landing to petition them for help against the Night King, and he brings proof, a captured white that snarls and claws in its cage before the Stun Court. And it's during this time, with Jon at the Red Keep, that the foundation of their new world starts to shift. Daenerys finds herself drawn to Jon's quiet intensity, which reminds her so much of Robb. But it's more than that. It's the dragons. They're unnaturally calm around Jon. More than calm, they're drawn to him. Rhaegal, the dragon she named for her late brother, who was Jon's real father, often lands near him, letting Jon get close in a way no one but her ever could. And the moment of truth comes on the cliffs near Dragonstone, on a dare from a northern lord, and with this strange confidence from Daenerys, Jon Snow approaches Rhaegal, and the dragon lowers its head, and with this silent understanding, Jon climbs onto its back, and they fly. To everyone else, it's a miracle. But to Daenerys, it's an impossibility that can only mean one thing. Only Targaryens can ride dragons. That night, she summons Samwell Tarly and, together with an old Septon's diary from the Red Keep archives, they piece together the truth Ned Stark hid for so long. Jon Snow is no bastard. He is Aegon Targaryen, true-born son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, her nephew, and the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. This revelation doesn't immediately cause a crisis. Instead, it ignites this silent, dangerous fire in the hearts of the three people at the center of everything. For Daenerys, the conflict is agonizing. She has grown to love Robb. Their political marriage became a real partnership. He's her anchor. Yet she feels this undeniable, mystical pull towards Jon. He's blood of her blood, a link to the family she never knew. And Jon, for his part, is horrified. His whole life was defined by being a bastard, by his loyalty to Ned and Robb. To find out he's the very thing they fought a rebellion to overthrow, it shatters his sense of self. He wants no part of the Iron Throne. His loyalty to Robb is absolute, and Robb's reaction is maybe the most complex. The political genius in him immediately sees the danger. Jon's claim could tear the realm apart all over again. But this is Jon, his brother, the boy he grew up with. He sees the torment in Jon's eyes and knows with total certainty that Jon would never betray him. He trusts his brother, and so the three of them stand at the edge of a new era. The 7 kingdoms are united. The armies of the living are ready to march north and face the long night. The alliance of ice and fire holds firm. But within that alliance, a dangerous love triangle has formed. One of duty versus destiny, love versus blood, and honor versus truth. And the fate of Westeros no longer rests on the Iron Throne, but on the 3 hearts that now rule it, and the choices they have to make as the winds of winter begin to blow. So, the alliance is forged, the South is won, but the Great War is still to come. What happens next in this alternate history? How does this trio of Daenerys, Robb, and Jon face the Night King? Could their complicated relationships survive all that pressure? Let me know your theories and what you think would happen next down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into what might have been, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and suggest another what if you'd like to see us explore. Thank you for watching.